Hi, good afternoon, everybody. Great. It's really a pleasure to be here today to facilitate the session on Pharma 4.0, innovation and future drug development. And like me, my esteemed panel members, they are also fascinated with this topic. So we have little time. We have few panelists, so we have little time. We'll try to make the best of it. So as we all know, bringing a medicine to a patient is still a very slow, expensive, risky, and uncertain process, despite the extraordinary scientific advances and the strides in digital. As is well known, it takes about 10 to 15 years, sometimes 10 to 12 years, to bring a medicine to a patient, and an enormous human effort to bring a single drug in the market. And even then, most candidates, even today, fail. So every one of you in this room, whether you're a student, you're an entrepreneur, you're a startup enthusiast, a researcher, a regulator, or an industry professional, all of us touch different parts of the same system. And at the same time, I think it's important to remind yourself that the expectations have changed. Today, patients want safer, more affordable medicines and faster access. Regulators, they want stronger, more real-world evidence, RWE. Sponsors, they want smarter, earlier decisions. And society expects more transparency, more trust, more ethics. So when we speak about Pharma 4.0, innovation and the future of drug development, it's tempting to think only about AI, about algorithms, robotics, and automation. But Pharma 4.0 is not about doing things faster. The crux is, it's about rethinking how we discover, how we develop, test, manufacture, and monitor medicines in the digital-first world. What Industry 4.0 did for manufacturing, Pharma 4.0 is doing for science, for clinical trials, for quality systems, and for the overall decision-making. In this model, the data is no longer a byproduct of research. In fact, it becomes a strategic asset, as it was stressed in the last session. Pharma 4.0 therefore represents a shift from the linear, siloed drug development to intelligent connected learning systems, where data, technology, human judgment, and patient insight, they all come together across the entire life cycle of a medicine. AI, as again was stressed in the last session, does not replace scientists, clinicians, doctors, regulators. In fact, it replaces inefficiencies, guesswork, uncertainty. And we are already seeing this in many parts of the drug development cycle. For example, target identification, trial design, adaptive studies, decentralized trials, post-marketing surveillance, smart manufacturing quality, and safety signal detection. But alongside the progress, we are also seeing overpromise, uneven adoption, and real concerns about bias, about explainability and accountability, and also about trust. What is more important today is technology alone does not create Pharma 4.0. What is important, it's the governance that does, the trust that does, and patient centricity that does. Today, our conversation is not about whether AI will impact drug development. It already has. The real questions are, where is it truly adding value? Where are we overpromising, or are we overpromising? And how do we innovate responsibly without losing sight of our patients, of our ethics and public trust? To explore these questions, we have a panel of two esteemed members that represents different perspectives across the ecosystem. I would have loved to introduce these panelists, but in the interest of time, I'm going to keep it straight and simple. So we have Dr. Kavita Lamdor, who is a partner, RWE and Digital Transformation from Maxis Clinical Science. Thank you, Kavita, for joining us. And the second panelist is Dr. Manish Rajak, who is the CEO of Innovocept Global Solutions. Thanks, Manish, for coming. You're just in time. So let me start with the conversation, and let me start with something very direct. So we hear a lot about AI transforming drug development. But if we were to look honestly at today's ecosystem, in your specific domains, where is Pharma 4.0 actually creating a measurable value right now, and where is it still more promise than proof? So can I ask Kavita to take it first, and then Manish, please feel free to jump in.
Sure. Thanks, Jaroz, for setting the pace. Just everything that has been said so far covers so much, because each word in itself encompasses a lot of the thinking that we need to implement and accept as we move forward with AI. But getting back to the question, AI is not always fancy, and it's not just the fancy part of AI that we have to see and talk about. It doesn't have to be just your wearables and the ones that the tangible AI that we see all around us, that everyone thinks we are probably forced to accept or forced to do. It's not just that. I work across the integrated evidence development plan, so I'll stick to that domain. And what you have to see is, when you're doing AI, we didn't start now. We have been doing algorithms since a while now, whether it's the SVMs, the regressions, the basic predictability, for data cleaning, for mapping. Those are the basic uses that we are using AI for. And now it has started moving more towards generative AI and now agentic AI recently. So these are more than buzzwords, and when you put it into perspective of what the use cases or the business case for all these things are, you have to think about something like when you're looking at predicting what the drug molecule is, what the protein structure is. Now, if you see AlphaFold, you'll see it all over the internet. AlphaFold 2, what it does is it predicts. So it gives you causal relationships. But what AlphaFold 3 does is, it's a generative algorithm, so it will also tell you the next number. The thing that then you have to think about is that it has given us numbers, but predictives are more accurate at this point of time than generatives. So what will happen is, generatives have a tendency to hallucinate. So when you see, what they can do is they can tell you what comes next, or how to construct something, or to generate text or numerical data or structures, whatever the perspective or the use cases. But what we also have to be aware of, the overpromise, that what it has delivered, is it right or not, how accurate it is, how reproducible it is, how reliable it is. So all those things also come into perspective. Similarly, moving on to, more of the clinical trials. What are the populations that are underrepresented? What are the underserved populations? What is a better responder? What is a subgroup that needs to be addressed? And it's not just the perspective of patient outcome only. It is also, nowadays, many times you will see, it is the board that also wants to make sure that they achieve those numbers while achieving patient outcomes. So where can you serve a particular cohort or subpopulation, which will also give you numbers and improve the access of your drug in the markets you are going towards, whether it is out-of-pocket markets or reimbursed markets. And that is the whole spectrum of real-world evidence and health economics that a few panelists have already discussed on this panel, where also AI is used to predict which patients will respond, where you should do the clinical trials. Where does it underpromise? It cannot predict whether the trials will be successful or not. So it can tell you where to do the trials, which systems will do it well, where the infra is better, but it can't tell you whether the trial will be successful or not. Similarly, when we generate protocols, when we generate reports, when we generate economic models, all of those things can be done using AI, and these are not the fancy schmancy uses that everyone sees every day. These are not the tangible wearables that you interact with every day. But AI is there very much in our lives every day, that we use for clinical decision making and other parts of decision making. And I'll stop a little bit here so that you can continue.
Thanks, Dr. Kavita. So yeah, I know AI is everywhere. AI is in the air. Okay, but what I have tried to summarize this into, there are four strong pillars for pharma, and it's sponsor, it's regulator, CRO, and patient. Okay. Now, if we see, different perceptions. So, sponsor, if you see sponsor, what they want, they primarily want is that whether this AI and digital tools are valuable, whether they can reduce timelines, approve probability or success, or optimize capital allocation. So they are more into terms of those kind of reducing the timelines, getting the market, or getting that drug coming into the market fast. So they are more into the speed part which they look into. Now coming to regulator. So when regulation comes, the perspective changes. It is basically what they would think, whether it is whether the patient safety is in place, whether there is a data integrity, whether there is an explainability for basically whatever we are doing. Can the AI algorithm explain it better way to get this access? Coming to CRO would try to have their own perspective, saying that okay, will this AI help me in prediction of better enrollment? Whether they can detect the safety signals more faster than what is to be done into the manual ways which we are doing it. And when it comes to patient would say whether it will help me into an early diagnosis, whether can I get a faster access to the drug into the market? So all these perspectives are very important. But coming to a closing line, what I can say is, same technology, different definition of values, where speed for sponsors, safety for regulators, execution for CRO, and quick and early access for patients.
Great. So different stakeholders have different wants. Times have changed. And one thing that was heartening to hear from Kavita was that clinical trials will continue to exist because the present tools are not going to be able to predict the outcome of the clinical trial results. It's great. So I think I will have my next question. So if Pharma 4.0 succeeds, what fundamental changes for patients? And if it fails, then what do we risk losing? Either of you.
Okay. So again, patient impact, especially patient impact in Pharma 4.0 succeed or fails, I think it will not only patients, and there are other sectors also which will impact. Again, coming to sponsor perspective, they would really worry whether this AI truly improvise or probability of technical and regulatory access. For them, success means enhanced safety monitoring. That's how they would go in. For patient, if they succeed, patient may benefit from faster access to innovative therapies, more personalized treatment, better safety monitoring, and trials designed around patient convenience. Right now, most of the trial is basically into a control form. But then what patient wants to see in future, whether it could be designed in the way they want rather than how the doctors want. And then definitely for patients, success means you get more improved access and precision medicine.
Agree. It is more like a patient is a participant in their health journey instead of just the receiver of what decisions have been made so far.
That's a very important shift. At least when we started working many years ago, it was like patient was one of the stakeholders. And now patient is at the core of everything that we do. So big shift is patient centricity. Well said. So my next question is, many say that the biggest disruption of Pharma 4.0 is not technological but cultural. How are decisions made? What evidence is trusted? And how fast we can learn? So what is the real bottleneck? Is it technology? Is it regulation, culture, leadership? And what new mindset or capability does this era demand that the pharma was not training for, say, 10 years ago? So what is new, and any comments on that?
Sure. So we have to start off with the fact that everywhere you open a device, you look at billboards, everyone talks about AI, and AI is your KPI right now. Now, the problem is that when AI becomes the KPI instead of the use case being the KPI, we are underutilizing AI, because what we are looking at is how many team members or how many teams used AI, how many implemented it, instead of looking at what was the actual outcome we were going for. And that is a shift that needs to happen within the senior leadership, because they drive. It's a top-down approach. It's never bottom-up. No coder will come and say, today I'm going to use AI. They will be like, I need to get from point A to point B. I need to do this analysis. I can do it on Excel. I can do it on R. I can do it on Python, SAS, C++, not anything. They don't need to use a particular LLM, a Claude, a BERT model. They don't need to do that. But who takes the decision? A KPI. So A it's a cultural leadership thing. B, what we are also looking at is really, are we accepting AI the way it is, and are we accepting the way technology is? We are at a point in time where we keep talking about AI, but the data is not fit for AI. So we have to make the data AI ready. It's not you're not just simply sorting the data and you're doing ETL. It's a lot more than that. It's a lot more of feature engineering also. And every time you process the data, at every step, you're losing some data. You're losing a little bit, you're introducing a little bit more bias in the data. And you have to account for it when you get the results at the end, and how you interpret it and share the limitations of the data and the analysis itself. So it's a cultural shift, it's a technological shift, it is the data readiness, whether we have the data, whether we can process the data, and what we are using is actually making a difference or not. So it's not like everything else, it's not a singular thing, it's everything, it's multifactorial.
Got it, yeah.
To add to Dr. Kavita, I think more important is also the mindset. Okay, and the mindset will be in a different way. The regulators, definitely the sponsors, and also the patient. So as we, I talk to many of the companies, even in India and outside India, and as you know, everyone has AI in them. So now most of the pharma are heavily investing in AI. They have everything ready in terms of AI. But then when we ask them, are you using it? They say no. And when we ask them why, not yet confident. Okay, so I think each stakeholder, once they have a self-belief in that particular model or that particular process, I think that will make push to bring this AI era more into an implementation way. Right now, it's everywhere there, and everyone. So if you ask every pharma company, are you equipped with AI? They will say, yes, we are equipped. But how much they are using it, to what extent they are using it, I think that's a question mark with. And particular reason is, for example, if we ask the patient, I think more important, still each one of them are not satisfied with the data security, whether my data is safe. And not in this industry, but in many industry, the previous experiences where there has been data leakage, so each patient is safe. And I think that's the biggest challenge for India. If you see, we don't see much progress in electronic medical records still. And where if those electronic medical records are placed in each and every hospital, the AI can actually do wonders. But then, as I said, cultural shock, cultural bottleneck, or they don't want to do it.
But I think it's just a matter of time, because unless we don't adopt to this quickly and don't adapt to these technologies, we will just miss the bus.
And I think what I've seen, ICMR has started doing it. So I believe they are now getting data at one platform, and it is now being. Any ICMR hospital you go, the data would be the same, and they could actually access the data. So I think there is an initiative being taken, and I think it's just as Dr. Zero said, that it's a matter of time, basically.
Right. Thank you, Manish and Kavita. Kavita, the one question I have in mind is everybody's favorite. It's to say that as algorithms influence decision in trials, in safety and approvals, who should be accountable when things go wrong? Because things do go wrong, things fail. So who is to be accountable? Can you share some insights here?
Sure. So right off the bat, short answer is the decision maker, the sponsor. That's a short answer. Long answer is that we all need to understand data provenance. We need to understand the report. We need to understand how the decision was made. So everyone who's involved in the process, right from the data sourcing to the person who did something as simple as data cleaning, feature engineering, to someone who actually generated the report, to the person who tested the results for accuracy, validity, explainability, and all the way up to decision making. What were the guardrails that were put in the data? What were the actual decision points, and what was the human in the loop that was involved? At what points were they involved, and what were the influences of the human in that decision making? So it's partly a moral question and it's partly an actual technological question, because technology will do what you tell it to do. I mean, it can be as simple as, there was this paper that I was reading, and if I read a paper, I say, it says that 53% females have Alzheimer's. I know the rest of them are males in the study. But what my model did, one of my coders, when they did the AI model with an agent that interpreted it, because the male word was not mentioned, it just interpreted everyone it was just females who were involved in the study. So AI will hallucinate, AI will interpret, AI will report what is there, AI will not think for itself. So at the end of the day, the guardrails have to be set by humans. We cannot blame AI, we cannot blame the algorithm. We have to create the system that creates trust and reliability, and that way we can make the regulators trust us, we can make the patients trust us, and the HCPs trust us.
Right. Kavita, that was a brilliant example. Manish, would you like to add?
Yeah, I think completely agree. Yes, finally sponsor means human. Human is going to be responsible for anything happens. For example, if you go to regulator would say, okay, if you have made an AI model, who has validated it? So find who is audited it. Okay, and similarly, when it comes to patient, in patient, AI may assist in decision making, but finally the outcome and everything is still responsible by clinicians, ethics. So humans. That's more thing. What I can say is that AI distributes workload, but never accountability. So that's how it would go.
Fine.
So sponsor, I meant whoever created the product.
What about the tech companies?
The tech companies, yeah. So everyone whether it's a digital health product, whether it's the drug itself.
It's not one
No, it's not one person. As
Yeah.
a unit, as a system, the decision makers are responsible.
Yeah.
So because each system will have humans. So finally, a human at each stakeholder would be responsible.
Because I remember some time back, this was a news in the paper that there were vehicles going on a bridge, and suddenly the bridge had broken. The Google map had shown the path,
Yes.
and everybody said it's the tech company's fault. That how did the map show that there was a road? The map should have indicated that the bridge is broken. So that's the reason why I asked
I
you.
will bring this closer home to med. 23andMe, everyone was spitting in a tube. What did you think you were doing? Just knowing your genetics? No. They took that data and sold it. So there is so much that is happening. AI didn't do it. Technology didn't do it. Humans took that decision. Someone bought it and someone sold it.
Yeah.
So that accountability lies with humans, not with technology, not with data.
Perfect. Good point. I see some students in the room, and this question is keeping the students in mind. So if you're starting your career today with AI, with automation, with ethics, innovation, reshaping everything, what is the one habit or mindset or capability you would like to start building right now that will still matter at least 10 years from now? So that question is for both the panelists, but I think the response will be more useful for the students in this room. Okay.
So a very big overarching view is what I'll take here. We don't talk about the elephant in the room, the state of the health care industry and everything that we are going through currently. We've moved from late stage capitalism to techno-feudalism. AI is a part of it. Everything that we are doing has a moral guardrail that we need to think about. So when we are thinking about AI and its uses, we have to have a concept of why are we using it, how are we using it, and where do we dissociate ourselves from certain parts of using AI or not. We know for a fact that the people who own the tech companies and that there are many decision makers at the top level who are using data, patient level, person level data, for uses that are not very admirable. At the same time, because of the monopoly of these few companies, we have to use their LLMs and fine-tune them for the particular use cases that we want to fine-tune them to a therapy area, to a disease, to a drug, whatever we are doing. So somewhere it has to be a mindset shift, and we have to sometimes we have to dissociate ourselves from the bigger picture to say that what I am doing in this scenario is not as morally corruptible as what someone else might be doing, while also accepting that, technology moves in multiple ways, and we as society, a global society, not India, not, whatever, we as a global society have to take certain decisions, how we will use data, AI, what privacy guidelines we will follow, what kind of decisions we will take with the kind of data that is made available or not, legally or not. So there are many questions that you have to sit and take yourself. We cannot make a change globally today. I cannot go and make a decision for governments. What I can make a decision for is myself, and I can choose to be unbiased, moral, and legal with how I'm doing things I'm doing.
Completely agree. So I think most important is the first is that how to use AI. I think that everyone should know, and where it will be required. So I know most of the chat GPT is an AI, you can say, it's a tool, a kind of a tool, but then you should be able to understand how, where you to use it. We have seen people, and these days when a mail comes, we can easily recognize whether it is written by a human or it is a chat GPT. But then what I would suggest is we need to develop an integrative clinical thinking, which has where you could develop to basically mix, or you can integrate basically data science, clinical judgment, ethics, regulation, and strategy. See, there will be moments where AI predictions, statistical outputs, clinical intuition, and patient realities do not perfectly align. But the most valuable professionals will be those who can contextualize questions and integrate rather than simply rely on tools. And just a last note, what I can say, innovation fails not when technology underperforms, but when stakeholder expectation misaligns. And trust is the true currency of Pharma 4.0.
Great. I think that was a nice closing. So I think in the interest of time, we will not have any more questions for the panel. We will open the questions for the audience. So any questions anybody has, please feel free to ask. Looks like it has been a terribly clear session, or people are very hungry. I don't know. So I'll just give a nudge, and please feel free to ask. So in the end, I think the future of drug development will not be written by technology. That has been said very clearly on multiple occasions. It will be written by the trust patients have in medicines, in sponsors, in all the other stakeholders who are present in developing those medicines. I will like to thank the panelists for their valuable insights and for giving some good examples, for reminding us that Pharma 4.0 is not just about innovation, but as Manish said, it is about trust. It's about responsibility at all levels, whether you've just joined industry, whether you're a senior leader, at all levels. And thank you to all of you for being part of shaping what's coming next. I also want to thank the organizers for giving us this opportunity to address this group. So your last chance, if you have any questions, or else my colleague is waiting here to, to close the session. Okay, so thank you everybody for your patient listening. Thank you, Kavita. Thank you, Manish.